There's a little bit more Shapoopy left. About
He
5
pushed
minutes.
us live. He did it.
Yeah.
He totally did it. Hey, everybody.
Hello. Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. You have chosen Microsoft Sam as your static -P apostrophe S default voice. Now introducing your host, Joseph CTVNL. Oops, CTVNL Anderson. Please enjoy the show. That could have gone better. Click. Welcome to Don't Worry Wednesday. You have chosen Microsoft Sam. Please select another voice for clarity and prosperity and for Static's voice so he doesn't have to do this the entire time. Because otherwise he will get very old.
Good job.
And lose his job.
Wow. Wow. Thanks for that, Ryan.
You're welcome.
I thought you were going to continue.
No, that's about it. I don't really want to do that too much.
Yeah, I'm sure.
It's kind of straining.
It kind of strains your vocal cords a little bit.
Yes, you have to breathe in order to get this sound. So to continue to do this, you start to not run out of breath, but run out of air to suck in. Your lungs can only expand so much before you realize, oh, I'm too full of air.
Yes,
I have to breathe out. Mm-hmm.
You'll be like,
yeah. Maybe I need an extra hole in the middle of my chest to, decompress.
Oh yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm.
It's exactly. Yeah, it's exactly. All of us need that.
Yeah.
An extra hole in our chest. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone needs an extra hole in their chest.
Jeez.
Man, I need bacon right now. Like I need an extra hole in my chest.
Wow. Well, everybody needs bacon. That's totally not a true statement at all. Anyway, welcome everybody. It's Don't Worry Wednesday. What do you think?
Hey, we made it. Welcome.
We made it.
You guys made it too.
You guys look amazing in the chat. Really, really happy to see you guys. Yep, this is the show where we handle any topics, issues, challenges you may be facing. You can feel free to post them in the chat. You can feel free to post them on our website, bss.studio. You can feel free to send us an email, dww@bss.studio. You can also find us on Discord. You can find myself. You can find Ryan. You can find Princess. And submit your topic that way as well. And we'd be happy to take any topic you might be wondering about or concerned about. We are not professional therapists or counselors or anything like that, and we're not a substitute for a professional counselor. However, we just want to be your friend. We want to help in any way we possibly can. We want to offer you love and encouragement and possibly some perspective along the way while you journey through whatever might be challenging you at any given time. So thank you guys for being here so much. It looks awesome to see you guys here. And Jesse is producing our show, and Princess is keeping us on track, and she's also our chat room hostess. I'm your host, CDVNL, or you can call me Cedivanel.
Cedivanel.
And the star of the show in the appropriate position on top of the
top bunk
of
this double sofa.
Yeah, double-decker sofa,
double-decker couch. That's what we're on.
Static the P Ryan.
Hey, how's it going?
It's good. How are you?
Doing great, man. It's nice to see everyone here. It's nice to see you. And yeah, we might not be a substitute for professional help, but we are a substitute for unprofessional media. And you can always choose us.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm grateful for that. Because hey, I like doing the show. It's great. It's great being with you guys.
That's good. That's one of the things. It's crazy. Like you do a show like this and you realize, hey, this is one of my favorite things to do ever.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know,
it's great.
to do this show and to do Double Cup of Joe in the morning. I mean, it's like we always talk about, hey, we're going to start your day off right. And it's like, actually, we're starting our day off right. And you guys can
That's
hang out with us while we do
That's
it.
true. Hang out with us while we start our day off, right? And I mean, honestly, that's pretty much how you make success out of anybody. You just get them in that environment of with other people who are doing things right, and a lot of times they start doing things right as well. They pick up on it and they start moving in the right way, right direction. A lot of times I feel like the most I've been helped in life is just being around people who are the right kind of people to be around. So, yeah.
Well, Joe Bohan is definitely the right type of people to be around. I must
that guy's
say.
awesome.
Yep. And so is Static P. You guys that know, you've heard him talk. You've heard him say his Microsoft Sam voice.
Welcome to Microsoft Sam. Microsoft Sam welcomes you to himself. Please enter in. Enter into my voice. Get entranced. Wow, this is trippy. What are you doing inside of my voice? Error, 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 error. Error. Rawr.
Okay. Anyways,
Snowlock says do a Cortana voice. I just got Windows 10, so
Cortana.
I
have Cortana disabled. I never allowed her to speak once on my computer, and I've had her for years. I have no idea what she sounds like.
Really? Me neither.
As soon as it was like prompted, like Cortana wants to, and I'm like, mute. Don't want to hear it. I don't know. If you're not a paperclip, don't be helping me out. If anyone has like old Windows 98, you know exactly what I'm talking about. The paperclip guy.
Oh yes, I remember that guy. That's awesome. All right. Well, anyway, we got some topics here that we can handle. We got a show to do. What do you think? What do you say we do it, Ryan?
I think we should do it.
I think you're right.
Let's get it done.
Yes. So we have a list of people I'm going to read off. If you hear your name, feel free to give us a what's up with your mom and dad in the chat. And excuse me, and we will do that. Some of you I see here already. Excuse me.
Word paperclip, yeah.
But
Jesse. The paperclip was so funny. Hey, do you need help? It looks like you could use some help. Like I'm literally just writing up a document. Sorry, thanks, paperclip. Wow, you really need my help though. Here, let me help. Now I think I got a handle. Did you know? Watch this. You can click this button. That does not help. Yeah, but go up to the top. Look, there's an about button. Push the about. Now go to click the Microsoft button. Look, that's your version. That's not helping. I'm just typing up a document. Thanks, paperclip man. You're the best. In memory of.
Wow.
I like him. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead. Give off those names. Sorry, Jesse just brought me back to that guy. He's hilarious.
Yep.
Clippy. That's right.
Oh, yes. All right. Well, here's the list of names. It goes like this: Sumner Kagan, John Doe, Man Left Behind, Eric Bodine, Caffrey, Mark Anthony, Cherry, Akil, and Royal, aka Saigo. And I just see you. I see you, Royal.
I see you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Clippy was fun for the kids.
Yeah, sure. Clippy was fun for the kids. And I was a kid at the age where I saw Clippy. So, well, not super, super young, but relatively young.
I would ignore Clippy.
I think we all did. For the most part. Yeah.
Present and magnificent. Oh, I like it.
That's awesome. I love it. And I think Akil has gone off to get some breakfast, which is good. I hope he has. So I think that Royal would be a great one to start with.
Yeah, I think we should. Let's do that one. What do you say? I say yes.
I say yes.
Just say yes. Princess posted the link. Princess posted it before me. Good job, Princess. So this is called Shikata Ganai, It can't be helped.
仕方がない or 仕方がない I can't remember how it goes. しょうがない. That's what it is. しょうがない.
Shogunai.
仕方がない and
Shogunai.
しょうがない. しょうがない is the improper form. しかたがない is the like if you're talking to people of higher status. しょうがない is if you're talking to people like friends. But ultimately, it literally means it can't be helped.
Yes. So this is the one we're doing, and I will hand it off to Princess, who will read the topic for us because she's amazing and wonderful.
Heyo! This post will be a bit different, also shorter from my previous ones, because this one is not about me. It's about a guy I met on Discord, who I have talked to for a while. He slid into my DMs from a larger server, and it was a nice conversation we had, and started talking about some stuff about happiness and sadness and feeling empty, much because despite not being a member of Mystery Inc., I'm still a meddling kid. According to him, he doesn't see himself as a human, but instead as just a shadow that exists but isn't noticed, doesn't interfere with anyone else, and doesn't have any kinds of feelings, that will spend its life alone, and that is better for the world. And that is better for the world that is like that. Much of this are near direct quotes. I tried to get through to him and deconstruct to myself his way of thinking so that maybe I could get him to take a few steps on his own. But that is where I hit a brick wall. He is entirely convinced that what he is right now is what he is destined to be. When I asked him if he wanted to be like this, so that maybe I could spark some desire to change, the most articulate answer I got was, "It's not my opinion to judge my fate or destiny. It is me. I am a shadow." I realized that I will not be able to help him, although I wanted to spark anything to maybe even in the future, when I'm no longer have contact with him, set his flame back. It was like I was trying to use a wet match, and he doesn't need a wet match. He needs a military-grade flamethrower, which is why my last piece of advice to him today was to search for a psychologist to help him move forward, although I have serious doubts that he will go through with that. Just a bit of information that may or may not be helpful. I didn't get much about his personal life. To his answers, well, anything would be vague, and about how he was not human, he didn't feel anything anymore, and he has nothing to live for, although it did seem to be making some progress there. He would slip back into these answers, which are not of any help to him at all. I do understand that it is undoubtedly a defense mechanism from himself to protect him from himself. He avoids the reasons so he doesn't have to face them, and admit that this is the state he is in and it's bad for him. I merely don't know how to navigate it. I will keep my DMs open for whenever he wants to talk, but I don't plan on going too deep anymore. I will be polite as always, but recognize my words will not reach him. Too long didn't read for the banner. I met a guy on Discord who is convinced that he is not human, doesn't have feelings, and is fated to just be a shadow, and that this is an immutable law set upon himself by destiny itself. What are your takes on this situation? He said he began typing a topic with just about the same map. Wait, never mind. Status update. So this is awkward. Turns out I may have gotten a little progress out of him after all. He just needed some time to let everything sink in. I guess it's a lesson in patience for me then. From Psycho.
Nice.
All right.
Well, thank you for the topic. I mean, this is definitely an interesting situation. Sometimes people feel stubborn when, I know for me personally, there was a time in my life when I felt in a really dark place. And, anytime anyone would offer anything that would try to be helpful, I just wouldn't respond, because I was so deep within myself. And I think you said it really well here. That where is it? I understand it's undoubtedly a defense mechanism from himself to protect him from himself. That I really like the way you put that, because it's true. Like when we go deep into ourselves, it is a defense mechanism. It's kind of like we're running and we're shutting the world out. We're shutting other people out. Now, even though deep down we really want people to care about us, and we really want people to, help us. We really want to be helped out of this situation, but because maybe we've been hurt a lot, we are trying to defend ourselves from that. I mean, there's a few different reasons why that might be the case, but it's very wise of you to come to that conclusion. And then also that having patience in all these things is definitely key, because when someone's in that type of a state of mind, what you say at any given moment is going to feel like it falls on deaf ears, but deep down, you really are reaching them. It just doesn't seem like it at the time. So I really, really appreciate this post a lot, and I'm going to turn it over to Ryan to see what he has to say.
Sure.
Ryan?
So an update from Royal. They said, I'm going to get the message he sent me as for the status update because I think it's really cool. It reads as follows. I am not a shadow, but a wandering soul that can change its call of destiny. Well, it's kind of a weird sentence. I am not a shadow, but wandering soul that can change its what called destiny. Oh,
Maybe
it's so-called
what
destiny.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Perhaps so-called destiny, or what it's called, what it calls destiny. Anyways, either way, English aside, yeah, absolutely. I think that's better. That's an improvement, right? Absolutely. No longer being called a shadow, but a soul that it can change its destiny rather than being stuck on its destiny. And I think that's definitely really important. We've talked about this many times on this show, but hope is the creator of all things. Like if you don't have hope, then you don't even try things, right? You think it is the way it is, and you can't change it. But the truth is everything's always changing. So there's always hope. Because we get to make decisions that change how things move forward. So it seems like, like Joe was just saying, your words do get through to people, even though you think like many times you can try to help somebody and it seems like nothing is happening, nothing is getting done. And a lot of times it isn't at first, but even sometimes it takes like a year for words to finally set in or catch up, or things to fully be come to fruition, like all the things that you try to do. It seems like it falls on deaf ears, but the fact that you try does not go unnoticed, right? It doesn't go unnoticed by you, of course. It doesn't go unnoticed by them, and also doesn't go unnoticed by God. And I think that those things are upheld. Your good intentions are upheld, and they do ultimately get through, usually. Of course, there are people that will notice them and then just reject them outright, and that's, even those people can change. But at the same time, sometimes people are just set in their ways, right? And no matter what you do, it doesn't seem like you can help. It's kind of like you said, it's kind of like the topic, shikata ga nai or shoga nai. It can't help. It can't be helped. It's just how it is. And it's kind of like the English saying of it is what it is. And I think a lot of times that's what this show is about. Many times this is Don't Worry Wednesday, and really things kind of do boil down to sometimes it is what it is. But I love that about it, because it is what it is still an open statement. Because like just saying it is what it is, right, can go to a direction of, well, can't change it. It is what it is. Move on, right? And it puts you back into the position of, why are we settling for? Why are we paying so much attention to something we can't change? Let's just move forward, right? But it is what it is, again, is also a phrase that helps you recognize that it's simple, right? You don't have to make things too complex. It is what it is, right? Simple as that. And then you can take that and you can change it. Even if things like, for example, your car breaks down. You can go, well, can't be helped. It is what it is, right? So now what do we do, right? It helps simplify things in our mind to stop complicating everything and just go, okay, rather than trying to define it and all this kind of stuff, trying to freak out like, oh, now this is going to happen and this is going to happen. And then I'm just going to be late for all of this kind of stuff because my car broke down and I have to pay for this. I have to go call the people and, you're getting all caught up in how bad things are instead of trying to label it so much that you just procrastinate on any moving forward, that you just label it, right? It is what it is. All right, now let's move forward, right? Because then you don't have to sit there and complain about how bad it is, right? And we can apply that to how we deal with people. Sometimes you deal with people that, you really want to help them. They're just in a bad spot. And sometimes it's just not their fault. It's just where they're at, where they were led to think about life, whether it be through medias that they were listening to, different people in their family life, different people at school, different scenarios that they've invented their own reality, right? They've invented, okay, if this is this way and this is this way, then this must be true. And it's not, but that's what the conclusion they came to. So sometimes they get things wrong in their head. Sometimes it's not like they wanted that. It's just where they ended up, right? And when we deal with those people, we want to help them. But sometimes they don't seem to listen, right? Just like we were talking about. No matter what you say, they're stuck in their head in this spot, right? So how do we simplify it for them? How do we simplify their position to help them move forward? Sometimes you need to do something where you really get them to think more. And sometimes you have to do something to get them to think less. Sometimes, okay, so like, for example, this person says, well, they're not human. And then I think the best response to that is, well, can you define human? What do you mean by human? Because are you not made out of flesh, bone, blood that resembles the shape of a human? Were you not born of two human parents, right? One could easily argue against the idea that he's not human, right? But then I think by human, this person actually means something more, right? That's good, right? Because they can recognize there is more to being human than just being the animal of a specific physical type, right? Like a dog is a dog, a goat is a goat, a human is a human, right? But it's more to be humane. It means more to be a human than just how we're shaped and how we function in the animal kingdom, right? So in that, you can draw out those questions, right? You can draw out those questions and then help them, rather than giving them advice, you ask them for them to define things, right? Some things, when they define them, you'll find that there's a lot of wisdom there that you can add on to. So what I mean is this. When I say someone's going in the wrong direction in a line of thought, I think my best results often come when I say, hey, can you define that word for me? Or can you explain what you mean? And then when they explain it, find the parts that are true. And then take those to the next level. What I mean is this. So if they define human, however they want to define it, right? If they define it like having a soul, being caring, being capable of emotion and logical decisions and all this kind of stuff, right? However they define it, you find the truth and then you expound upon it and be like, yeah, that is so right. I love that you said this because that also leads, into this truth, right? And then you talk about that truth, which will help them understand where they are actually supposed to be going in their line of thought. And you keep on expounding upon their truths so you're agreeing with them. They never feel like you are disagreeing. They never feel like you're attacking them. But whenever they say something that you agree with that, and then you take that to the next step. You take that to the next level of wisdom. Does that make sense, Psycho? Or Royal? I don't know how you want to be called. I guess your name in you go by Neto. Also Royal, also Psycho. So I don't know. But does that make sense? One of the like best things you can do, sometimes simplify things to make it just quicker and easier understood. Like, what is a human? And then they try to explain it and it's like super big. And then you're just like, well, can we compact that down to something a little bit more simple? And then by doing that, it becomes concise. And then we can go forward from there. Whichever is fine. I have lots of nicknames. Okay, cool. So I know a lot of times, like when me and Joe and Jesse and Kyle, my brother, and Jeff and the other Joe, and Steve, we all get together for a Black Static Sword meeting. Mm-hmm. Once in a while, we get stuck on something. And all we need to do is go, okay, hold on, everybody. Let's define it. What are we trying to do here? Can we define it into like a sentence? Can we define or understand this realm? Let's simplify it into the smallest thing we can, and then we can expand from there. Because then we know the purest form, right? We know where we need to go because we know what we're trying to do, right? So sometimes it's important to take, like we can get caught up in loops in our heads, just trying over and over to like think about all these things, and then we get nothing done. And when you have a person who's lost, when you have a person who's like, like they said, they're searching, they're a wandering soul, they're just kind of like in this place where like, I don't know what's going on. I have an idea of reality and it might not be real. It might not be correct. It might not line up with other people's realities or whatever, right? When you have that, I think it's important to take all of that because there's just too much in front of them at one time and ask to define certain things, certain aspects. You might find them being like, when they talk, they're really adamant about certain things, right? They really are talking about very specific features of life. You'll notice that the more they talk, they start bringing up certain words over and over, like shadow, like they're a shadow, right? And it's like, you can take that and say, well, could you simplify that for me? What do you mean by you're a shadow? What do you mean by shadow in this example? And when they do that, it helps them break it down in their head and find their way through, right? Instead of getting lost in their thoughts. And then, like I said before, the other end of that, what you can also do is when they say certain things that are true, you go, oh, that's so right. And then you expound upon it. So you're like, oh, wow, that's so right. Because that leads directly into this line of thought, which is, yeah, I just love that, man. That's brilliant. And you kind of assume upon them that they know that, but it helps bring their brain back around into finding where they're supposed to be going. It helps clarify things in their brain so they can start moving in the right direction again. I hope all that makes sense. I hope that helps with the scenario. But anyways, I'm going to give it back over to Joe.
Yeah, you are. Anyway, thank you, Ryan, and thank you again, Royal, for the topic. One of the things that you mentioned in there that I kind of wanted to zero in on was the fact that I guess this is a lesson in patience, because that's true. I mean, a lot of times, what Ryan was talking about was awesome. I would encourage you to go back and listen again. It gives you a little bit of perspective on where this person might be coming from, all that, like all the types of things we kind of go through. But one of the things that I want to help you out in your head as you navigate through this situation too is I learned a while ago that when you're dealing with other people, this is a journey that's going to last for a long time. You kind of take the long view with people, because people change, people grow, people take input and then they sit on it for a while, and then maybe years later it actually manifests into something in their lives. There's in the parable in the Bible about the seed sower, there's discussion about the hearts of people are kind of like soil, and um, there's different kinds of soil that you might cast your seeds upon, um, but one of the things to understand is that as you're doing this, as you're throwing out tidbits of advice, as you're throwing out different maybe suggestions on what they can do differently, you're really planting seeds in their heart, right? And sometimes you get to be the person who plants the seed, who waters it and helps it to grow, and then is there for the harvest when they actually finally get it and it makes a difference in their life, right? Sometimes you get to be that person that's there every step along the way. Sometimes you're just planting the seeds, and then somebody else waters it, and then somebody else harvests it. Sometimes somebody else planted a seed and you're there to nurture and water, and then somebody else harvests, right? So like there we play all kinds of different roles, but the point is what you're doing here is valuable. It's valuable to this person, even though it might seem like you're not getting anywhere, right? Even in those moments. And I'm glad it sounds like you are getting somewhere, which is great, because just from your updates. So you've moved them from the stage of I'm just a shadow to actually believing that maybe he can impact his life a little bit. It's a really, really discouraging position to be in when you think, life is just the way it is. There's nothing I can do. There's nothing I can do to fix it. There's nothing I can do to change anything. I'm just, you know, thrown to the winds of fate, and I'm just going to be blown around back and forth. And I mean, that's just to feel like you have no power at all in any situation. That's such a discouraging position to be in. And it's dark and it's hard to deal with, and it's depressing. At least it is for me. Um, and you know, when you start to understand, wait a second, this actually is not true, because we do have the power to impact things around us. We do have the ability to influence other people. We have the ability to influence other things. I mean, all you have to do is take a look around you and you can see all the different things that people have created. I look around here, I've got lamps, speakers, computer screens, computer. I've got all kinds of different accessories to go with. I got drums, I got musical instruments. I mean, some of these things alter the way other things are. Like I look at that guitar right there, right? I mean, that is a combination of wood, metal, and empty space and other things, bone. I mean, there's all kinds of things that go into the creation of that. And what that does is it creates sound waves that impact, the way that air vibrates, and then people hear it, and it has an emotional impact on them. Like it's the weirdest thing. All these things that are set up like that, right? So just because you're planting seeds and it doesn't seem to be getting a response, even though that can be discouraging, like you said, sometimes patience is just the best thing, because like Ryan was talking about, those words are getting through. It just might not seem like it, but they are getting heard, right? They are penetrating, even when we think they're not. Now, whether they grow or into anything or not, that's not necessarily up to you. But one of the things to always remember is to take the long view with anybody. Maybe this person will be in your life for a season. All you'll get to do is plant the seeds, and then they'll be gone. And then, somebody else will take over from there and be nurturing to help grow, right? Or maybe you'll be there for the whole time. But either way, that's not up to you either, necessarily. I mean, I suppose if things just get really weird and you need to disconnect, I mean, then that's always, I've been there before too, when, sometimes things just get weird and you gotta, like, okay, we gotta distance ourselves from each other. And then you're like, okay, I'm glad I can hand this person off to another person sometimes. But what the things that I really wanted to emphasize are, one, take the long view. Understand, people, we take time to change. And I remember hearing a guy talk about one time, he said, if you ever tried to change yourself, you'd realize how hard it was. And so you wouldn't expect other people to change as quickly as you want them to. Because it is hard. Changing ourselves is hard. And ultimately, that's what's going to happen here. This person's going to change themselves in order to heal, right? It's going to be an inside job. It's going to be between them and God. And you are basically offering some helpful words, some helpful ideas that hopefully they can latch on to. And it can help them realize that they have the strength to do that, to make that change. That's why when we talk about being here on Don't Worry Wednesday, we've said many times, we realize you guys are probably smart enough to figure a lot of this stuff out on your own. However, sometimes it just helps to have somebody to encourage you and to make you feel like you're okay, and to make you feel like maybe this thing isn't that big a deal. Maybe I'm making a bigger deal out of it than I'm supposed to. I mean, there's all kinds of different ways to do this, but the main thing is that we want to encourage you and say, you know what, this is possible to get through. And you're already making headway with this person, and I'm super duper proud of you for that. And I hope that you get to be there to see the full fruition of this person getting out of this dark spot they're in. But that's not up to you to decide. So all we can do is try as hard as we can, do the best we can for as long as we can, and then let God do the rest. And I don't know, that's pretty much what I have. Ryan, did you have anything else?
Yeah, just a few things. So yeah, thanks for that, by the way. Definitely on the part of patients, it's really important. There are many times where people don't realize they've hit the impression threshold, I'm going to call it. So in everybody, there's what I'm going to call the impression threshold, okay? You can make an impression on somebody. You can help change things in their life, right? But there's a threshold for that, right? Like it might be up here and you're doing stuff and nothing's happening, right? And then boop, you get over it. You get that threshold, you have an impression on them, right? But then it's interesting because it's not a visible thing, right? That impression threshold on everybody is slightly different, and not everybody shows it, right? Some people might show it just by making responses and having a conversation with you, even though they might seem like they're still a really dark person. You've hit that impression threshold. Some people might go, wow, that's a really good point. I should, and then they make it vocal. Some people, you'll never see it because they don't share anything, right? But here's the thing. You have to start recognizing, like as somebody who tries to help people all the time, right? If that's the kind of field you're going into, you have to start being able to recognize, when have I hit the threshold? Because at that point, that's when you stop. You can say, okay, I've done my part. Now's my chance to be patient, because I have to allow them to work it out. I have to allow them time to work through what I've just impressed upon them, right? So what I've found, one of the most effective things for my own mental health and for theirs, and the better mental health I have, the better mental health that I have when I'm dealing with them, right? So for my own mental health and for theirs, to realize, okay, I've done all I can. I've said all of the best stuff I can. And I know they've heard it. I know I've made an impression. I will not take this any further. I'm not going to invest all of my time to get nothing happening when I've already made my point, right? There are times when you can spend days and days and days and days and days with someone and nothing's happening. And you start to find out that you've become the crutch, right?
Mhm.
And that's not a good place to be. A lot of times the best thing you can do is make a good impression on their heart and in their mind, and then say, "Shikata or "It is what it is. I can do no more. I should do no more," because they have to decompress now. They have to think about it in their own head, not with me telling them what to think or me trying to push my point onto them, because I'm not going to prove it to them. They have to prove it to themselves. So they have to take that thought and then run the circles with it, right? So I think becoming aware of the impression threshold is really important when you're trying to help people, because then you don't bog yourself down. You don't feel like you're wasting your hours. Now, you can't necessarily ever waste your hours. You can put hours and hours into somebody and hoping that you can help them. But there's like a spring tension, you know. You have a spring and you pull it out and it doesn't matter. You can pull it, you let go, it goes back, right? And that's kind of how it feels when we spend hours and hours and hours with somebody. You know, it feels like a spring. And we do this with, like, if I'm learning how to play a musical instrument, I can spend hours and hours and hours and hours, right? And I have to get good at it. So the first, like, there's like an impression threshold, if you will. There's a threshold for getting good at an instrument. You start playing and then you start figuring out and you're like, bam, okay, I got this. I understand it now. But then it takes 10,000 hours beyond that to actually become good at it, right? To become extremely good at it, to really know it, to know the ins and outs, to be able to play whatever you like, right? What's happening there is you got that spring, right? And you're pulling it and then it comes in. You're pulling it and it comes in. You're pulling it and it comes in. But after 10,000 hours, you start to realize when you pull the string, it comes back in and it's been wrenched so much that the spring no longer works like a spring should. You know, it doesn't collapse all the way. It only collapses a little bit anymore, right? And that's kind of how it is with people. We can spend hours and hours and hours and hours with somebody, but if you know you don't have that time, if you know you can't be out there with them and experiencing their life with them, then that spring is just going to keep on coming back to where it was. So I think, like, if you're in a situation where it's like you're in constant conversation with them, you actually live near them, you have fun with them, physically with them, things like that, I think you want to take that option or that chance to stretch that spring out, right? You want to put that investment forth. But if you're in a situation where you can do the logic for yourself, if you think it's smarter to work on them using the threshold model as opposed to the stretching the spring model, both have their importance. Both of them are needed for everybody. Both of them are required. But you might not be the person to stretch the spring. You might just be the person to get them over the threshold. So that's the kind of the two ways we can work inside somebody. Both require an enormous amount of patience. So just like Joe was saying, and just like you said, I think, yes, patience is a must. And don't ever doubt what you've done. Like, you put any work into somebody to help them, don't ever have a doubt about it. Don't ever say, oh, I guess we can't change people. People have to change on their own. There's some truth to that, but it's not fully true. What you do changes people. What you do matters in their lives. So don't ever doubt, because sometimes you just have to leave it up the rest to God, you know, but you've done what you needed. So yeah, with that, that's all I had to say. I hope that made sense. I hope I gave adequate descriptions of what I was trying to explain. But yeah.
Yep, I think Royals his the connection there isn't all that great, so the video looks like it's being kind of choppy and stuff. So sorry about that. Hope that can get fixed for you. But at any rate, thank you so much for the topic, Royal. I sure do appreciate it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, go back and listen to the parts that you missed if you need.
Yep, but Ryan had some great stuff in there. It's so true. A mind stretched by new ideas doesn't ever go back to the shape that it was before.
Right.
So as you're planting these new ideas, as you're planting new thoughts into this person's head, you are making a difference, whether it appears to be happening or not.
Absolutely.
And I love that. As long as your heart's in the right place, you never have any reason to doubt yourself. Now we can always grow and improve our approach for sure.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
But when you're sincere and you're trying to help and you're surrounding everything you're doing with love and encouragement, there's no reason for you to, be down on yourself for any of that. So really appreciate that you're out there helping people. That is a beautiful thing, and please continue, because there are a lot of people out there that could use some encouragement right now, especially right now. It's getting crazy out there.
Yeah. As Amir was pointing out just recently.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyway, thank you so much for the topic, Royal. And please come back again. We should move on, don't you think, Ryan?
Oh yeah, definitely.
All right. Well, let's see. What do we got here? I will read through the list of names again. Akil, I know I saw you in here, and I know you have a few topics in here. But let's see. Okay, Sumner Kagan, John Doe, Man Left Behind, Eric Bodine, Caffrey, Mark Anthony, and Cherry. If any of you just heard your name, then let us know you're here, and we would love to do your topic. I do want to say a little something. Amira was talking in the chat some about how I'm done with the human race. It's wild. And then it goes on further. It's not just the quarantine system. I'm sick and tired of the news I've been seeing lately, which I imagine is about all the protests and the riots and all that stuff going on over here in the United States. I don't know if that's happening around the world or not. But
I gosh, I hope not.
yeah, it's been pretty wild. But the crazy thing is, you can look up. There is one area, and apparently this is kind of caught on with other police departments as well. But in Flint, Michigan, there's a sheriff, the sheriff there named Chris Swanson. We actually know the guy. We've gotten to know him personally, actually.
Mm-hmm. You sat down with him for lunch,
Yep.
He's an awesome guy.
Yep. He was not the sheriff at the time. He was the undersheriff, but
that's right.
Now he's the sheriff of Genesee County, and in one of the most violent areas in the United States, they had a peaceful protest because he went with them. He's like, I'm going to march with you guys. What happened is wrong. I'm going to, I'm right with you. So we're going to do this together. He took off all his riot gear. He just walked with them and, hung out and everything. Totally broke the quarantine laws, but very appropriately, hey, I thought that was really, really special.
Yeah, no, he's got a good head on his shoulders. That guy is so smart and wise. And I mean, it's the right action. Like I remember when we had the whole thing with the priests who got caught doing, scandalous things, right? And some of the first people to step up, Bishop Robert Barron, who was a priest himself, was like, look, I'm just as much against that as you guys are. Like we they are not priests anymore. We fired them, right? We hate it too, and we look bad because of them. And it's the same position the cops are in. It's like, we look bad. It's like, we're not going to spend any time defending that. We're not going to go, oh, they did this because of this protocol or whatever. No, that was straight up evil, period. Right? And I think that's the appropriate action for the cops too, is just to be like, that's straight up evil. Obviously that's not what cops should stand for. Let's protest against it too. So yeah, I think that's the right move. Absolutely.
Yep. Well, and you don't have to go far. I mean, you can find media talking about all this stuff. I mean, and there's a lot going on right now. I mean, when you think about it, everybody was already kind of stressed out because we've been in quarantine so long. You know, people are losing their jobs, people are losing their businesses, and there's just this huge economic stress and social stress going on. And then all of a sudden, this police officer kills this guy, and it's like, whoa, like that. The grass was already dried up, and that one match just lit the whole nation on fire, and just boom, like all of a sudden,
like a dust explosion.
Mm-hmm. Which is nuts. But I mean, I'm not surprised that, you know, of the explosion, and appropriately so, because that was a really wrong thing to have happen, you know. So I mean, I don't know. I could get into opinions and talk about this a long time, but I'm not going to. All I'm going to say is that's not everybody. The people out there that are doing bad stuff, the people out there making misguided decisions that are hurting other people, that's not the majority of people. Most people, what you find, most people are kind. Most people want to have a peaceful life. Most people want to get along with other people. Most people, and that's one of the reasons for the outrage, is because it seems like there's been injustice that's happening. And like, when you look at all that kind of stuff, it's like, okay, you know, so we got to stand up for justice for sure. But at the same time, understand all the stuff you see on the news, it's by design to be negative. And so one of the best things you can do is find positive groups to be a part of. I mean, you guys here, all you guys here in the chat, you know, you guys are so wonderful and encouraging and loving and friendly. I mean, it's such a great environment to be a part of here. And there are other communities like that too. You can find them on Discord. You can find people all over the place to interact with that are good message promoters, and that they want to love and care for people. I mean, you look at what Royal was just talking about there. I mean, that's a person who's trying to help other people. And there are a lot of other people out there. And so my encouragement to you, everybody, is, even though, you know, it's not a bad thing to stay up to date and to see what's going on. And, you know, obviously, I mean, I go out and do inspections. I want to know what the city's going to look like when I'm going to go out there, you know, so I got to know what to expect. But at the same time, if I dwell on it too long, it's just going to bring me down. And so I know what I need to do is I need to get involved with some good people. Makes me so thankful to know Ryan and everybody else on staff at BSS, everybody who has helped with this show, and all of you guys in the community. I'm so happy to know you guys and to be able to talk with you guys, because it really, really helps me to think more positively during all this time.
Mm-hmm. I'll tell you, one of the first things, you know, once I heard about all the stupid riots and stuff like that going on, one of the first things I did, you know, is I went into prayer, and I prayed for the people that are affected by the riots. But the second thing that I prayed for immediately after that was for the rioters. They need prayers even more so, I feel, than the people who, now it sounds like I'm evil for saying this, right? But you guys know very well that people who are affected by the riots, yeah, they need our prayers. They need help. Like, that's awful, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the people doing the riots, they need all the more prayers, because their brains are messed up, right? Like, that's not okay, right? It is not okay to react to evil with more evil. So they need our prayers too. They need help. and sometimes it's not like people just get caught up in the emotion. People get caught up in the environment. They happen to be with friends and their friends are doing it, and they're just not thinking straight, and they just need a little bit more positive influence in their life. People who are positive and had their homes wrecked and whatever, or their businesses wrecked rather, at least their brains are in the right spot, at least their hearts are in the right spot. Hopefully they're not intending to get revenge and stuff like that, right? But the people who did the riots, I feel, of course, I pity them, and it's like, I hope that they can find their way out of that one, because I don't hate them. Like, I understand I've done stupid things before too. I've done vandalism before too. Getting caught up in just the environment, getting caught up in what's going on around me and being like, yeah, and then I did this and that was fun. And it was fun, right? But then it wasn't fun after that. It was only fun until I stopped doing it. And then I realized, like, oh crap. Oh no, I did that, wow, why did I do that? I'm that kind of person. I can become that kind of person, right? So even though it feels like we should give up on humanity sometimes, we can look at this community and communities like this and be like, there's no way I could give up on these people. People like this are amazing. And then we can recognize those people that are terrible people, they're just as likely to be with us. They're just as capable of becoming some of the best, most incredible people on earth, some of the most positively influensive people this planet has ever seen. We have many examples of people who started off bad and they went good, or people who started out great and they went bad and then they went good again, right? We're all capable of change, and I think everyone, including the bad guys, need prayers. So yeah.
Yep. We are all capable of great good and great evil, every single one of us.
It wasn't like a huge offense, dude. I don't even I think I drew on a locker at my school.
Ryan, with a permanent marker, even.
No, I scratched it in.
Oh, you scratched it in? Oh no.
Yeah.
Man, oh
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
Man. Ryan and some girl.
What was it? I wrote
Ryan and, yeah, forever, with a little heart around it.
Yeah, it was something about my mom too.
Oh.
Yeah.
Right.
And they were like, is your home life all right? Like, they took me into like counseling. They're like, are you okay? What's your home life like? Are you having problems with your mom and dad? Like, and I'm like, I think you're getting the wrong message.
Wow.
Yeah. They're like, Ryan, you would never do this. You're like the most polite and normal like teacher. Like, what's going on? Like, what happened to you? Yeah.
Yeah. It's pretty wild. But in a time like this, we are facing a time of great challenge, with all these things going on. And I was listening to a guy speak today, actually, and this was before the riots. This was just talking about the whole virus situation. This was kind of a little bit older talk. But he was talking about how this generation that is here on this earth now, this is like could be one of our defining challenges here. This, how we respond to all this stuff going on, could define how resilient we are moving forward.
Yeah, that is actually very true and interesting. I mean, you look back on certain parts of societies throughout the entire history, and you start to see things like, big things that happen, like whether it be famines or, huge pandemic of sickness. And you can look at those moments and they're defining. They're not just defining because they're big moments, but they also shape what comes after it. And in this scenario, it's really particularly interesting because you have the evolvement of the internet, right? Which is something that we've considered for many years now to be one of the biggest game changers ever to happen in humanity. It has connected and shared quickly information across the world like never possible, ever. I mean, you think about trying to get information across the world 200 years ago, it will take you 2 years, and it's going to, the war, whatever happened back then is like, it's over, by now. No, not 2 years, but still, like, it'll take a lot longer, right?
Mhm.
During the Depression, we had so much that sprung out of that shaped our world today. And now out of this, it's curious what's going to happen. Is this one of those moments where now, because our society is stuck in this, and we have a new generation of people, some of them, some of them we don't completely agree with their moral stances and so on, and some of them were like, yeah, these people are really smart. We've got a lot of things going for us and a lot of things going against us in the society today. What happens next, right? I think it's important to right now be really strong on who you are and what you stand for, and to be the best person you possibly can be, because that's going to shape the future going forward, right?
It totally is.
Put more
absolutely right.
content out there if you can. Like, if you're a content creator, put more content if you can. Now, I'm, of course, one that I should be doing as well, more
Mhm.
positive stuff. And of course, we stream every week, and that's part of this. But yeah,
Mm-hmm. Yep. There's an author that called this the transition tribulation.
transition tribulation.
He
Wow.
wrote about all the things that are happening right now. This guy wrote about in like a graphic, like it's like a comic book almost, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he put it all together in this thing, and this was a couple years ago that he wrote this. I mean, and it's all kind of starting to happen now. And what's happening is we are in a transitionary period right now. There's a lot of changes happening, and yeah, with all the stress and the tension going on, and I mean, it's crazy. But understand, times of transition are times of great opportunity.
Absolutely.
They really are. They really are. Like, as we're quarantined, and obviously quarantines are starting to be lifted now. Even Michigan, they're talking about, opening restaurants again here, like
That's nice.
in a week or so, or two, or something like that. So it's going to get crazy. But at any rate, these times of change are great opportunities. So, and the idea is to be open, to have your mind looking at what we're shifting to. A lot of things are shifting to working from home. We're utilizing the internet, like Ryan was just talking about. I mean, everything's digital communication. Content creators, absolutely, that's a big deal. And also having a sense of community, that's also a very big deal. And if you can create things that are entertaining and that also uplift people and help their mentalities, then you are going to be a powerful force in the coming age that we're entering right now. So I'm telling you, keep your eyes peeled, and understand times like this, even though they're crazy and they're scary and they're hard, there's opportunity, tremendous opportunity during these times.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Some of the biggest companies that we recognize today were started during the Great Depression in the United States. A lot of the biggest companies that, are just like household names and very huge brands, like
Kleenex.
they were started during the Depression. Kleenex, Johnson & Johnson, basically all the automakers.
All the audio industries. Yeah.
Yep, all that stuff started during the Depression. It's incredible. So, yeah. So, understand that and keep your eyes peeled for opportunities. They're all around you. And it'll be cool. So,
yeah.
Jehoshaphat,
So let's see if we can get into the topic,
the
right?
change you want to see in the world. Yes. Be the change.
Absolutely.
Yep. So, all right. Yeah, let's move on to a topic. We got one from Akil. And Akil, you're the only one I see that has a topic here. So which would you like us to do? Dreamless or untimely morals? I will let you choose. You've got T minus a few seconds.
Too late. All right, we're gonna go with
Ryan. You cut him off. He's halfway around the world.
Okay, I'll give you half a second for being halfway around the world. Okay,
Un-
there it is.
Untimely morals. Jehoshaphat wants to be a fat lady hiding in the bushes. Really? Okay.
Okay, go for it, J-Ho. Be what you want to be. Some things are you have physical boundaries. That's not the right word, but yeah, it can be very difficult. But yeah,
What? I'm wondering what you just walked into too.
yeah, I'm
Tebow.
too. I don't know what J-Ho's on about. It doesn't. I don't know if it applies to a sentence that was once said. Oh, be the change you want to be in the world. I want to be a fat lady hiding in the bushes. J-Ho, I don't
Oh,
think you really
gotcha.
want to be a fat lady hiding in the bushes. I don't really think that's a thing that anyone wants to be. Maybe.
Yep. All right. Well, Akil, yes, we did get your audio file in the email. But we don't know how to we haven't quite figured out how to do all this yet. With the playing the audio file of somebody else's stuff yet. We're getting there. It's on Jesse's radar screen. He's gonna figure out how to do that.
Scythe, that's funny.
But anyway, Akil, we really appreciate you you putting your post in on the website, and I will turn it over to Princess to have her read it, and you guys can click on that link and read along.
Untimely Morals by Akil. Untimely would be an understatement, to be honest, but I am lacking the ability to express my thoughts properly right now. I'm just confuzzled. Say, where would you draw the line as a content creator? Where would art forms or any kind of creation in general be wrong? What can be said? More importantly, what should be said? The world has always been changing, but nowadays I just feel estranged from it. I need to catch up. Felt like I have been in the past for too long. I don't know if I can create anything good, but the concept has become alien to me. I do not know if I could be any good right now. I know that I'm taking a break from writing right now, but thoughts keep flooding into my head. Ideas that I dropped before began reconstructing themselves in my mind. But I should not write them. Not now. Not ever with how the world's going. For all it is worth, I want to salvage what is left of my morality. It just feels wrong to write something so close when conflicts are escalating right now. Before creation, there was nothingness. Before light, there was darkness. And for my ideas, came with my lost pieces of patience. I selfishly write because I felt unsettled enough to. That should be obvious by now, with how I could put as much as contribution to Don't Worry Wednesday. Fate really plays with impeccable timings, though. I got a call a day ago. A job offer, you could say. It was from a ghostwriter, an acquaintance I never expected to hear from again. This may be rich, coming from a person who could only write darker toned stories, but the draft I sent really brought a sense of hopelessness. I contacted them for confirmation, and my chest tightened upon hearing from them again. It was made recently. The ideas were written to profit from the infamy of the protests going on right now. I really have no right to criticize them, though, since a similar draft actually came up to my mind when my people were handling issues from Myanmar refugees weeks ago. I never thought I would thank creativity block, but I am. My lack of ability to write saved me from creating something cursed back then, and now another opportunity came up. I really am an idiot, aren't I? I let a long-awaited chance slip by. I could have used that money, might be able to be well enough equipped to actually make progress with my personal project. Could have used the money to help others, but should I? This is a bit selfish, but I am afraid. I'm afraid that my words will finally have meaning for others, afraid of my mistakes from the past. I don't think it would end well if I became involved with ghostwriting, with that kind of work in demand right now. I guess that is how I said my farewell to another underworld, another one of wordsmithery. All of this just means that I cannot hide anymore. I now need to fulfill my expectations. I will be leaving all of that for another day, though, since with how my mind is going right now, I risk of debuting with something depressing for both the readers and myself. I take this with grains of salt, but Pride Month really highlight what I was avoiding to do. Take a look at the big companies trying to present themselves in a very fabricated image. I got respect to the ones actually doing it properly for the cause, though. Tonight's rambling was brought to you by Akil Joe Mukahashim. P.S. I've been insensitive with my puns, so I've also decided to stop. So that's that. From Akil.
Wow,
right.
thank you so much, Akil. So, your middle name is now my name, huh?
That's
awesome.
very fitting. Just like his father.
That's absolutely. So wow, thank you so much. And I'll tell you, you do write very well, Akil. And you're right. There are many people out there who create things mainly to profit from, what's going on in the world and all that. I think there's actually a term for that. I think it's called newsjacking.
Oh,
When
okay.
you take stuff, you take stuff that's going on and you spin it to your advantage to, profit your company or whatever, right?
Yeah.
And it sometimes, there are good ways to do it and there are bad ways to do it. If you can use it in a good way that helps you grow your company and also provides light to the world, I suppose that could be a good use of it. However, most of the time it's taking a negative and, expounding on some more negative aspects on it to then, position yourself to profit from it in that way. So while there are good ways to do it, I think most of the applications are generally negative. I could be wrong on that, but maybe not. At any rate, I'm going to turn this over to Ryan and let him go first. So Ryan.
Sure. Akil said to put more in context in, I used to hold blood money, and now I have a code not to involve myself in it again. And Akil, obviously, mad respect for you. That's when you have an opportunity to make a lot of money, or even just a little bit of money, and you realize that it's unethical or immoral, to be able to step away from that is encouraging. It's impressive, and I have to give you props, because it's not easy to do that, especially when sometimes in that scenario it's like it's your lifeline, it's the only way that you're making money, and if you stop, it can make your life harder, but yet you're choosing to stop because you realize there are moral implications. So I think that's awesome, first of all. One thing that I don't know the industry very well, but I think that another thing that was really great in here is you were talking about your writing, and you don't want to write necessarily to spread more negativity, right? Because that's what's going on in the world right now, a lot of that. Here's something that I find there's an importance of a middle ground. So Akil, you don't, like you want to be able to help people, right? And it's not like you have to write kids' books. You don't have to write children's books, right? And you say that your kind of primary form of writing tends to be dark. You know what I say? Lean into it. But lean into it with resolve. What I mean is, imagine you're that ghostwriter, right? Okay, yeah, you used to be a ghostwriter, so you know what it's like. And you write about political things and so on, but you do it anonymously so that you can't get in trouble for it. So you can say things that would possibly get you in trouble without having to worry about it, right? Imagine you take that position up and you write some negative stuff, and then you spin it into a positive resolve. So that instead of it just being outright bad, you can take the time to point out the evils and then take a moment throughout the whole thing, or especially at the end, to give people hope, to say, to show people, despite all of this, or especially because of all of this greatness can become. You know, we've talked many times, and you know this to be true as well, Akil. God has a way of making all bad into good. He just has that power about him. He has that nature about him. And so all bad things that happen on earth, we can turn them into good, right? And so now, of course, maybe you've already said no to the ghostwriting, but if you have the opportunity, is there a possibility where you could be a ghostwriter that throws in the nuggets? Because here's the thing. People who read those are going to be reading them no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be somebody else's work. Why not make it yours? And why not make it yours and own, like, seriously, because then you can actually have some power in that place. You can start to enhance people's lives, even though they're not even like recognizing it. And you can make money doing that. That's awesome. Right. Actually, that's how Joe and I got started. Now, we weren't in a, like, there's like no blood money, right? We're not ghostwriters, right? But we started off writing together, kind of Black Static Swerve. The whole company got started off. Basically, our first project was to write a bunch of songs, and we took it anonymously, right? No one knew who we were. I mean, people figured it out. People found out. Some people knew, and it spread, right? But
it doesn't take much. You just tell like a couple of the right people, and then all of a sudden, all kinds of people know.
Yeah. Which is totally cool, you know. And it's actually the people who hired us on were telling people, you know. So
right, yeah, it's true.
Oh, these guys are the people that did the whatever, and we're like, yeah, anonymously. All good. So yeah, I mean, nobody knew, right, that we were affecting their lives, but anybody who found out, they were like, wow, you made an impact in my life, right? Yeah, you said the road to hell is paved with good intentions. I think that if your intentions are good, I think that it goes both ways. I would say this: the road to heaven is paved with good intentions. Both could be said. Now, yeah, you said you remember me working with Shine, and you said you didn't really agree with him. Yeah, that is true. And in that, I was able to put my music out, right? And I told him, like, I'm not going to work on anything that has intentionally a bad message, right? And he understood that. And so when we were working together, everything was either lighthearted, friendly, or at least had some sort of positive message written in. If not, then I didn't participate in the project. So yeah, Akil, absolutely, right? Even I was in that position as well there. And a lot of, like, maybe not a whole lot of good necessarily came out of the videos that I did with him. But in the end, it did also create, you know, Static P, regardless. So even if good did happen there, it also helped pave the way to creating the new channel, which is Static P, which had a lot more success and a lot more to offer people, right? So one thing led to another. So sometimes an opportunity presents itself and it might look immoral, and so we just deny it. But if we can get creative, we can go, okay, here's an immoral industry. How can I insert myself and make it better without participating in any of the immoral actions, but being a part of it? So like I said, when I was with Shine, it's not like I was doing bad things. Shine isn't a terrible person, right? Shine is just a human being, right? But his moral compass isn't the same as mine. That's it. And he's a good guy. he's got good morals, but not all of them line up with mine. So when they didn't, I just either I mostly just didn't participate in whatever was going on, right? Now there are certain things where it's like, well, it could be immoral to talk bad about another person. Absolutely. But it can be extremely moral. It could be morally correct to point out what is evil. Right? And so instead of taking your writing to the extent of this person is a terrible human being and, blah, 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 and making them look as bad as possible, you go, this type of stuff should not be going on. Right? It's a whole different way of phrasing it. And instead of putting all of the pent up anger on a human being, you put it on the action. Right? So again, there's many ways to go about writing around a moral construct. So that's my take on this. Now, I love, one of the things I loved the most about what you wrote in here was that I can't find the line right away, but you were thankful that you had writer's block because it prevented you from being in that immoral area of life. And I'm like, that is so true, dude. Like, seriously, there are times it's like, God, why are you holding me back? I could be so much more. And then later you realize it's like, oh, I shouldn't have been there anyways. Like if I actually did achieve great success in that position, I was not the kind of person that could handle it yet, And so I love that you said that because you get to recognize that the way the world works isn't necessarily how we imagine it all the times. But we find out that things work out for the best. And sometimes what we want really has nothing to do with us, no good to do with anybody. Just because we think it's going to be good for us or good for others around us, we realize later that would have stopped something else good that could have happened if I had that. Like if I had that money to help my parents out, that would have been awesome. But now I realize because we didn't have the money, we grew stronger as a family, right? Completely different, right? And the way we look at the world is so narrow-minded because we only live in the present. And we can't see into the future. We can only imagine. And a lot of times what we imagine the future look like is only based on the present. Because we don't have a whole lot to work with. We only have our surrounding. And that's funny because then we're here, right? And we think, okay, this is the direction I got to go to lead us to the best future. And it's like, you're working with extremely limited information. And that's okay. You got to do something. I'm not saying don't do anything with your life because you don't know what's going to happen. No. But what I am saying is shoot for what's best, shoot for what's good, and find out later why it didn't all work out because there's something even better to come. So never complain about the things that don't work out, basically is what I'm saying. The things that do work out, sweet. Sounds like you were aiming in the right position. If you're working for something good and it's not working out, it's probably because there's something that you can't see that's going to make it even better. And so don't ever get caught up and worried about that. Just keep on moving forward, right? But anyways, I've kind of talked and derailed quite a bit, and I hope that something there kind of helps you with moving forward with your career of, or whether or not you want to be a writer and that sort of thing. You're wondering, how can you be a content creator, right? And put good into the world if you're so dark. And ultimately, my point is lean into the darkness because a lot of people are experiencing that. But those people also need to experience resolve. They need to experience goodness. They need to experience the light. So build a dark world so you could put the brightest light into it and make the biggest difference. Criminal Idol, right? Criminal Idol is a story about darkness, but it's sown with lots of bright lights. And that's why people love it. And I offer you the same sort of writing style. That is a style that does really well. And is a style that people appreciate on such a level because in our hearts, in the world around us, there's this darkness. And then there's this light that you can offer them. And I think there's almost nothing more beautiful than that. So anyways, I'm going to give it back to Joe and let him let him talk about this stuff.
Mm-hmm. Now, I must say that, to use the example of Criminal Idol, that's a really, really good example of, pointing out things that could be dark in the world and then using that to spin positive truth, right? You can totally do that because, for the longest time, I was always kind of under the impression like, hey, we need to create media that's positive. We need to create something that's uplifting. And yes, that's true. However, to just shine light on positive stuff all the time and just be all like happy clappy, all that kind of stuff, I mean, that's just not real life. Real life has pain. Real life has suffering. Real life has hardship. We go through those gritty times, always. And the thing, one of the songs that I love the best in that whole Criminal Idol series is A Reason for Suffering. And it's right there in the title even. I mean, the lyrics state it so succinctly, but even just in the title, A Reason for Suffering, that tells me, it's a reminder that anytime I'm going through a painful period of my life, anytime I'm going through some kind of dark time, there's a reason for it, and it's going to get turned around to being good. It can, like, all things work for good eventually. And what you find is when evil, dark, bad things happen, on the other side of those is a greater good than was ever possible before the dark thing happened. Right? So, I mean, you look at the darkness of all of these, all this crazy rioting going on, all the protests and everything going on. I mean, this is a dark time for a lot of these people. I mean, it's hard and it's sad, and there's anger and there's violence and there's, frustration and injustice and all this stuff going on. But through this time, what I think some of the things you're going to find are there's going to be new levels of solidarity between just citizens in general. And I think, there's going to be, probably some reforms that help us in the long run. And even it's going to turn into a greater good than was before. And it took going through that painful struggle to bring about the brighter time on the other side. And it's a crazy thing because one of the things, what was it? I don't wish for a life without suffering. I don't pray for a life without suffering. I pray for the strength to go through the suffering. And when you can approach it like that, no matter what dark thing you're writing about, no matter what hardship, what painful experience, what negative side of life you're dealing with, right? If you can paint it with a picture of strength that this person has to get through, that can be such a powerful, encouraging work for someone to experience. Because any victory requires a struggle. Any act of courage requires fear. And any act of, I've heard it said before, never pray for patience because you're going to get to experience long waits.
I don't mind.
Hey,
I guess I'm patient enough for it. It's like, sweet, give me nothing to do. I love it.
You're one of the most patient people. Now, if you're standing in line somewhere waiting,
Mhm.
do you enjoy that?
Yeah. So standing in a line for me is an opportunity to just relax and think.
Mm.
I've never minded standing in a line. It's
Oh,
never bothered me,
cool.
luckily, because I
Good
have
for
a
you.
mind that goes, hey, you know what? Let's turn inward and start thinking about stuff, you know?
Well, hey, you're magical. Not me.
Um,
I'm usually thinking about all the
No.
things I got to do. And so I'm
I
like,
have-
doggone it, I'm standing here waiting in this line.
yeah. Yeah, sometimes I just think about the things I got to do later. That's okay. You
Yeah.
don't have to be impatiently think. Just think about it and be like, yeah, I got to do that later and that later. What would be the best way to do that? Cool. Okay.
I got
You
an
know?
appointment in such and such a time. I'm standing here and I'm in this sandwich line.
Oh, it is what it is. Can't be helped.
Right.
I'll just wait.
Yeah.
It won't happen any faster if I freak out. Seriously. That's just,
It's
like,
true. It's
I
not going
mean,
to change it by freaking out. That's absolutely true.
yeah.
I heard, another person, I was like, hey, how you doing today? Well, I can't complain. I'm like, yeah, wouldn't do you any good if you did anyway.
Yeah. Can't complain. Wouldn't do you any good if you did.
Yep.
That's great.
Complaining doesn't
That's a good
usually do
one.
much good, for sure.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry
But-
for derailing you. Go on.
No, you totally didn't. And I think Ryan is really, really onto something great here. And that is to lean into it. It's like the little dude who wrestled a sumo wrestler, this sumo wrestler, big 400-pound sumo wrestler. Then you got this like 170-pound little dude, right? And he won, the little guy,
Incredible.
because he used the big guy's momentum. He just went with it. The whole idea is to get a person out of the ring. Do you think he was going to like shove him out of the ring? No, wouldn't stand a chance. But when somebody that big is charging you and you can grab a hold of them to some degree and help them continue moving in that direction.
Easy peasy.
Absolutely. It's a great thing. So yeah, so I love that. Lean into it. Whatever it is that's going on. Because on the other side, like even this, on the other side of this challenge is something great. On the other side of you trying to figure this out, maybe this uncertainty that you're dealing with, all this writer's block, all these things, there's something great on the other side. And we don't know what it is until we get there. That's one of the most frustrating things sometimes. It's like, I wish I knew what was going to end up here. But Akil, I know you're a man of faith. And I know that as a human being, I know personally, I've had my faith tested. I've questioned my faith. I've had moments where I didn't feel like my faith was all that strong. But I do have faith that whatever I'm going through is going to be over with at some point. All things are passing away, as St. Teresa of Avila said. That includes good times and bad times. All things are passing. And as we're going through a bad time, it's only a matter of time before we get to a good one. And then it's only a matter of time before we get to another bad one. Life is cyclical like that. So if you're going through a challenge, if you're going through a hard time, you can rest assured it's going to be over at some point. Things are going to look up. Things are going to be better. Things are going to feel better. And sometimes you feeling better is just setting you up for a greater downturn. And then you get to deal with that. But you know what? That's going to pass too, because the momentum that you build going down is going to propel you back up even higher. So again, I will restate what Ryan said. Lean into it. Go with it. Feel your flow and embrace it.
Nice.
So, you got anything else, Ryan?
Akil says, I guess main reason I refused the offer was because of money. I would be restricted if I was paid to write. If I want to do good with my writing, I want to start with expressing it with as much freedom I could work with. My debut will make my father's proud, my biological and you, Joe.
Yes.
Akil, absolutely, I get it. That's totally cool. Me and Joe have been down a similar route too. We've thought about different things. We've had a lot of people tell us we need to go to I'm sure Joe's experienced this. I know I have. Like, you should go to a major record label and get you signed and stuff like that. And it can be they can take your freedoms away, basically. And at that point, you don't have the option to write good, right? And if that happens, then it can be very difficult. And so I totally understand, Akil, and I'm right with you. It makes sense to me. So yeah, we wish you the very best. We are proud of you no matter what. You know that. But I'm honestly looking forward to seeing what you do write when you write. So yeah, it's awesome to see your creativity kind of coming back to you, which is great. You got things popping around in your head. And the funny thing is, if you look at something and it's an old idea and you're like, well, it's a little too dark, again, that doesn't mean it's bad. That could just be an opportunity of something you can write about that is dark, that you can shed light into, and might help someone else in the world who's going through that same thing, or something similar, right? Or just something they haven't gone through yet, but one day will. I know that there are many books that help that. Like, you haven't encountered the scenario yet, but then when it comes up, you're like, oh, I read a book about this, now I'm good at it. I don't even have to try. Seriously, it happens a lot. So Akil, yeah, I love you, man. It's great to have you here. And so thanks for the topic.
Yes, absolutely. Thanks for the topic. And if you think of it, a great book that talks about some of these things about the passage of time and good and bad times and how they all kind of work in our lives. There's a great book called Peaks and Valleys. I know I've promoted it on here before, but it's absolutely tremendous. And it really talks about that, how, on the other side of a valley is a peak. And on the other side of a peak is another valley. And you learn that all of them can be learning experiences. And when you're in a valley, you think back, okay, what got me to my last peak? And then you start doing those things, right? And when you're on a peak, you can be making preparations for the coming valley because you know that's going to come too. And it never has to catch you off guard. Now, sometimes we do get caught off guard, for sure. Sometimes we just get slammed with something we were not expecting at all. Like, for serious, like, you look at this pandemic, right? I'm gonna level with you guys. I'm gonna get share a little bit of my personal life with you. So this is crazy. A few months ago, right, my youngest son, he is on the demo team for the martial arts studio that we go to, right? And he is tremendous. He's a really good martial artist. And one of the things is he's kind of small and he's good. And they always like to showcase little kids being able to do cool martial arts because it just looks cool when you got little kids that are good at what they do, right? Now he's a little bit small for his age, which helps, because that way, that works to his advantage, right? So he was always like the front and center person. And it's always fun to watch him on the demo team. But here's the thing. Like, there was this big, huge competition coming up, like during spring break. And it was in Florida, where all the world goes for spring break.
Yep.
And it was just crazy. Like, and it was going to be really, really expensive. And I was like, I don't know where we're gonna have the money for this, and
You have to take time off of work.
I had to take time off of work. There was gonna be, and then there was all these plans that were being made without even thinking about the budget, like going to all these resorts,
Oh
doing
no.
all this stuff while we were down there. I mean, it was turning into this big, huge vacation, and I was like, we cannot pay for this. Like, I'm starting to say this like back in the previous summer, right? I'm like, this is not a good idea, because we're stretched pretty thin as it is. We got a whole bunch of stuff going on. We got medical bills from prior surgeries. There's all kinds of stuff going on, right? And we had this trip that was coming toward us. It was like, oh my gosh. I don't know how we're gonna do this. I don't know how we're gonna do this. And all of a sudden, this global pandemic hits, and we can't go anywhere. And I'm like,
There is no martial arts tournaments, and there are no resorts open.
there's no resorts open. There's no, I mean, we have martial arts class, but it's right like here. I just change my background around and give myself a little bit extra room, and I do martial arts class right here with this camera.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome.
And like, but that was one of the things. You think of this global pandemic, you think, oh my gosh, what an awful thing to happen. And yes, it was. It's a challenging thing. A lot of people lost their lives. A lot of people got sick. A lot of people this has changed our world completely, totally, forever. It has changed our world. But in this one little tiny little aspect of my life, it created tremendous amounts of relief. Because no longer did I have to be stressed about that, that how are we going to come up with the money for this huge thing? And it was going to be like this, it was going to be just crazy. There are so many other nuances in this whole trip that were going to be so stressful. And I remember working through it, and I'm talking to Ryan and his brother Kyle, like they're kind of like my go-to counselors a lot of times, I'm just asking them all these questions. What should I do? I don't know. But it was turning into this big fiasco. And then all of a sudden, through this super negative situation, there was a little silver lining. And you're going to find that in anything. Did you ever hear of the show Jerry Springer?
Oh yeah.
Ryan, you know about
Oh,
Jerry
yeah.
Springer?
Oh yeah.
I don't necessarily encourage
Don't
watching
watch
Jerry
it.
Springer.
Don't watch it. don't spend any time there.
No. Because it's basically a whole bunch of people just fighting, right?
Yeah.
There's just people like letting loose their drama. And
They scan people who put requests in to join the show, and they only pick the people that will literally have an emotional breakdown and freak out.
Mm-hmm. Yep, and fight and start punching and start throwing things and breaking things, and it's crazy.
Oh
right?
Yeah.
But every time at the end of that show, there's Jerry Springer offering words of advice, right? He's like sitting there talking. He's like, no, blah 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 blah, and he's got some little words of wisdom or whatever. Now this last like half of a minute of show does nothing to make up for the hour of people just letting loose their drama all over the place. Just
right.
But it's the silver lining.
That's a good thing to point at too with Akil. You're writing these stuff, and we're talking about it's okay to lean into the darkness so that you can show brilliant light. But obviously, like in the case of Jerry Springer, you don't want to have like all this darkness and then just this tiny like laser beam. Like a laser beam doesn't do much in darkness. Yeah, you don't want to take your light and put it under the basket. You put it on a lampstand, just as the Bible says. So, yeah, I think it's important, of course, to to make sure you cover the points of darkness with light. You don't just throw in a nugget of light inside all the darkness and hope that covers it, because it won't. You have to intentionally cover the darkness and show it. But anyways, yeah.
Akil says, I'm applying a visa to join that show. Thanks for recommending it.
Oh,
On the
geez.
point.
Yeah, that's why we did Don't Worry Wednesday today, to help make that show improve its viewership.
Help. But anyway, thanks, Akil. Thanks so much for the topic. We have just about run the course of this show, I think.
Yeah.
We're getting real close to the 2-hour mark. Man, I sure do appreciate all you guys being here.
Yeah.
I don't know if there were any other topics we had to cover.
Not tonight, other than,
have any.
I mean, we did cover some that were in the chat, like Amira's, wasn't really exactly a topic, but we got to talk about it for a little while and stuff like that. So, but yeah, guys, we're running low on our backlog of on our queue of topics. So please feel free, if you have anything you want to say, anything in your mind, post it. Send us an email at dww@bss.studio, or put it on the forums for us, and we will check it out there. That's bss.studio. So very, very simple.
Otherwise,
yeah, thanks, Princess.
If we don't get other topics, that's fine. I mean, we'll just be winging it every show, and then it'll be like when we first started doing this show, it was all like real time in the chat. Like, people who were here, they have something that they want us to talk about. They just post it in the chat. We could go back to that format. We'll just talk about something, until somebody says something to talk about, or we'll just sit here and look at you guys. And Ryan will talk in his Microsoft Sam voice.
Oh no. Oh no.
You have selected
so
Microsoft
well.
Sam as your default voice.
You
Please.
are so good.
Please type into the chat anything I shall read out loud as Microsoft Sam. Thank you for looking at us.
I have no idea how to pronounce. Oh yeah. It's Raquel. Is that Raquel? I'm guessing it's Raquel, maybe? Raquel?
I think probably Raquel.
Say something in Spanish. Okay.
Something in Spanish.
Okay.
Yo trabajo. Yo trabajo. Yo trabajo. Yo trabajo.
I work.
Yo trabajo.
Can I roll my R's? That's how Microsoft rolls his R's. It's so bad. I used to actually be good at Microsoft Sam. I'm not very good at it anymore.
You have selected Microsoft Sam as your computer's default voice.
Yeah.
You are very good at it.
Bananas
No,
are
you,
killable
Joe,
berries.
not me.
Perfect. You are so funny. Now you, Joe. Joe's turn to talk in Microsoft Sam. Please begin now.
I can't do that.
All you have to do is do Microsoft Sam. Select Microsoft Sam as your human default voice. Go to the drop-down menu underneath default voice. Select Microsoft Sam, and you shall hear Microsoft Sam as your human default voice. Human default voice. Error.
What is going on?
Welcome to the end of Don't Worry Wednesday. Wow, says Wally. Wally says, wow.
Jesse, you might as well just cut us off.
Go ahead and cut it off as soon as you desire. Otherwise, you are stuck here with Microsoft Sam.
Oh.
I with
Thank you,
Alexa
guys.
spoke like
I
this
got-
to me. For me. Alexa, You are a terrible computer program. You don't even satisfy my audio needs. Wah, wah, wah. W-A-A-A-A-A-A, wah. Robot force, initiate. Ja, 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 ja. Please turn on Spanish for ja, 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 ja compatibility.
Oh my goodness.
Ha, 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 ha. Ah.
Okay, anyways, guys, that's enough of Waluigi. Okay, I mean, it's like Microsoft Sam. Wow, Luigi.
Oh my gosh. Wow, thank you guys so much for being here. That was amazing. I love hanging out with all of you. I love hanging out with Ryan. I love hanging out with Princess and with Jesse. This whole experience is wonderful. And you guys, I'm so thankful to have you guys around. And you can continue to come back. Friday we'll be back at about the same time, about 9 o'clock Eastern Daylight Time. We'll be here. And yeah, it'll be Don't Fret Friday then. In the
That's right.
meantime, you can come tomorrow morning, a short 7 hours from now. I will be on here with Joe Bohan. We'll be doing the Double Cup of Joe show like we do Monday through Friday at 6 o'clock in the morning. It's early, but we love it. At least I do. And yeah, it's going to be great. So at any rate, come and check us out. We're talking this week about confidence. Tomorrow, we're actually getting down to what is the point of having confidence? Like, what's the reason? Like, what happens in your life as a result of living with confidence? And it's amazing all the things that can get fixed. And then on Friday, Amira, if you're still here and listening, we are doing your topic this Friday for our Free for All Friday. It's the great hot dog bun mystery.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
It's gonna be good.
That sounds like sounds tasty. I'll be there.
Yeah,
I hope I'll be there.
I hope so too. It's always nice when you show up in the chat.
Well, it's always nice when you guys show up too.
Yeah, it is. We're usually
to,
there.
to do the show.
Right. That is always nice when the people who do the show show up.
Showing up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty important.
Yep.
It's very nice when they do it.
Yep. So if you guys are awake, come on out. 6 o'clock in the morning, we'll be there. And then otherwise, we'll see you guys. Don't Fret Friday, Friday night at 9. And then, are you guys streaming Twitch streams over the weekend? This weekend, maybe.
Likely.
Okay, cool.
I'm always pretty much a yes, but then Jesse's got a lot of stuff going on right now, so he said likely.
Yeah.
So.
And I'm gonna convince BSS to open up a Minecraft server or something.
That's actually not a bad idea. All right. I think I've had that suggestion. Now that I think about it, I'm pretty sure many people have suggested that, and I've never done anything about it. But maybe that should be a thing. I don't know.
It's all good. We'll get there. Maybe
people do like Minecraft.
Mm-hmm.
But
there's a reason people call it Minecraft.
Do they?
Addictive.
I never heard that. But I'm sure people do.
It can be quite addictive.
However,
yeah. But at any rate, we love you guys. We're gonna find more and more ways to stay in contact with you. And yeah, stay tuned. We got a lot of good stuff coming out. So we'll see you guys next time whenever you're here, and we'll be here. You can count on us, and we'll see you when we see you. So you guys have a great night.
Peace.
Love you guys.
Bye-bye.